Hello everyone, welcome. So this is chapter of class 10, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. So this is written by he himself. So this is an autobiography. Nelson R- Ral- Rarilah Mandela. So this is Nelson Mandela. So this is an autobiography of Nelson Mandela. Okay, so now coming to the section. Okay, reading. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay the respect before the inauguration. The inauguration would be largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. So on the South African soil, such a gathering would be for the first time maybe. The ceremonies took place in a lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy, and now it was the site of rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. So Nelson Mandela was the first black government that South Africa had had. So till then it was for the whites. There was a white supremacy that was taking place. So maybe whites were used to gather, but now we had, from all the races, people would come up and gather. On that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zanani. On the podium, Mr. D. Clark was the first sworn in as second deputy president. Then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as the first deputy president. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said, today, all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. We who were outlaws, so those who were out or we were not given any rights to having the law, okay, who we who were outlaws, because it's the policy of the apartheid. Many countries had earlier broken off diplomatic relationship with South Africa, okay, so have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nation of the world on our own soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. Okay, emancipation, political emancipation is freedom from restriction. Okay, we pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from continuing bondage of poverty. So he is freeing people, so there's a liberty, there is a freedom. Liberate all our people from continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, then suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Okay, so unable, not having something, sufferings that they had, the gender inequality that they have, everything. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. So where one is going to suppress other and go ahead, so that will not be there. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom reign. God bless Africa. So, a few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union building. It was not fully a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military loyalty to democracy. So they were just giving a loyalty to the democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Only moments before the highest general of South Africa Defence Force and Police, the chest bedecked with ribbons, that is attached with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful, means unmindful means unknown, unaware of. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years ago before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of impala jets left a smoke trail of black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. Okay, a chevron is a V-shaped pattern that they were just moving. The day was symbolized for me by playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing. So, vision of whites, they were singing Nkosi Sikelel Africa, and the black singing that's them, the old anthem of Republic. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem, they once despised us speak in a very low voice. They would soon know the words by heart. On the day of inauguration, I was overwhelmed with the sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo Boer War and before my own birth, the white skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark skinned people of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world had ever known. So it was very harsh, it was very inhuman because the whites were dominating the blacks in their own land. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own eighth decade as a man, the system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all people regardless of the color in the skin. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of those of my people whose suffering and courage can never be counted and repaid. So it was not only a matter of single man, but the whole people who suffered. I felt that day as I have on so many other days that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. I was pained and I was not able to thank them, and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. So now there were so many people who have sacrificed their life, so they were not neither able to see what the sacrifices have given Africa. And Nelson Mandela was also thinking, why on this earth I am not able to even thank them. So he was feeling sad about it. The policy of the apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years in not generations, if not generations, recovering from the profound hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was it was produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sisselus, the Chief Lethalus, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fisher, the Robert Sobuquist of our time. Men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that they are like may never be known again. So they no one can be just like them. Perhaps it requires such depths of operation to create such heights of character. So when you keep on oppressing, or give putting someone under your own control, so there is a lot of courage that is being coming out. My country is rich in minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength of resilience and resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that the courage was not the absence of fear but the triumph over it. So it's not, you are not afraid, you're afraid, but you are taking a victory over that. The brave man is not the one who is not the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but who conquers that fear. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate. So, if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally. One only loves. Hatred has to be taught to them. Even in the grimmest times in the prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see the glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. In life, every man has twin obligations: obligation to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, that is his family, and next is obligation to the people, his community, his country. In a civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclination and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life path, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. So if anybody spoke up, they have to be leaving their family and going into a secrecy. I did I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the boat bags of slow moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by laws of man or God. So I was not that I was born as a you know as a savage or something like that. So he was free until he obeyed the rules. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms for being able to stay out at night, read what I please, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Jerson Park, I earned for the basic honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep. or marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for freedom of my people. It was their desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life. So that is what was going to take care of my life or rule my life. That transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains of any one of my people were the chains on all of them, and the chains on all of my people were the chains on me. So it was like we people are all together. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. So, this is what is about Nelson Mandela. Thank you.